Hey everyone and welcome. Today we are going to crack the code on two of HTML's most essential but, often misunderstood tags, span and divs. So you've probably run into this, right? It's a classic problem. You've got this great sentence, but you want to make just a single word pop with color. Or maybe you want to take a whole chunk of your page, a title, a paragraph, an image, and wrap it all in a neat little box. How do you actually grab just the piece you need? Well, the answer is actually super simple, and it all comes down to the span and div tags. Now, here's the secret. On their own, they do pretty much nothing. Their whole job is to be these invisible containers that let you group stuff together so you can style it later with CSS. Okay, so let's dive into our first tool, the span tag. The most important thing to remember about span is that it's what we call an inline container. So what on earth does inline even mean? It's simple. It means it stays in the line. It doesn't create a new paragraph. It doesn't push other things around. It just fits snugly right there in the flow of your text, and it only takes up exactly as much space as it needs. No more, no less. And you can see this perfectly right here in this example. See how we've wrapped the word span in those span tags? We gave it that tomato background color, but notice how the rest of the sentence just keeps on going. There's no interruption, no new line. It just works. And really, this is the absolute best way to think about a span. It's your digital highlighter. It's for when you want to pick out a small piece of text right inside a bigger chunk of content without messing up the layout at all. All right, let's switch gears and talk about our other container. Meet the div tag. And if span is a highlighter, well, div is basically the exact opposite. It's a block container. A block container is a total game changer for your layout. It carves out its own space on the page. It stretches to take up the entire available width, from the very left edge to the very right edge. And, crucially, it forces a line break both before it starts and after it ends. Just look at this code here. The text itself, this is a div title, is pretty short, right? But that cyan background, it goes all the way across the page. That's the div in action. It's claiming all that horizontal real estate for itself, creating its own distinct block. So the perfect analogy for a div is that you're putting your content inside a box, a big box. And when you have a bunch of these boxes, a bunch of div elements, they just stack right on top of each other, one after another, all the way down the page. Okay, so we've got the highlighter and we've got the box. Let's put them head to head to really make this difference stick. It's time for the showdown, inline versus block. And this slide right here breaks it down perfectly. On the left, you've got your span. It's inline, it's precise, it only takes the width it needs. And on the right, you've got the div. It's a block, it's kind of greedy, it takes the full width and creates a whole new line for itself. So to really hammer this home one last time, think about the visual. You apply a span to a word, and that word just gets a nice little highlight while staying right where it is. But if you apply a div to that same word, that word gets ripped right out of the sentence and put on its very own line with a background stretching from end to end. So you might be thinking, okay, I get it. One's small, one's big. But why does this actually matter? Well, this is where it all comes together, because this is your key to unlocking CSS. See, at the end of the day, span and div are going to be your best friends when you start using cascading style sheets, or CSS. They let you group literally anything you want, a single word, a whole paragraph, an entire section of your page, and then you can give that group a name. From there, in your CSS file, you can just call that name and apply any style you can dream up. They're not just tags. They are the absolute building blocks for creating cool, complex, and really well-organized websites. Just understanding this simple difference between the inline span and the block div, well, it unlocks a massive amount of control. So the only real question left is, now that you know how to do it, what are you going to create?